The Conjuring movies are really great. It's an awesome horror franchise that blends suspense, supernatural scares, and strong storytelling in a way that keeps you on the edge of your seat. You should definitely check out the Conjuring movies if you haven't already. Each story builds tension in a way that feels fresh and engaging, and the acting adds a lot of depth to the characters. The performances make the supernatural elements feel more real, which makes the scares more effective. Altogether, the series balances strong storytelling with genuine suspense, which is why it works so well. On the other hand, Sword Art Online is a dumpster fire. It's boring, bland, and painfully poorly written. The characters are flat and lifeless, with no growth or development. The story stumbles along with no real substance. It's mind-boggling how some people can enjoy it. The game design of the fictional MMORPGs in the Sword Art Online universe is horrible. It is obvious the author has no real understanding of how games actually work, and it shows in every detail. The mechanics make no sense. The systems are shallow and the world building is lazy guesswork rather than thoughtful design. In short, The Conjuring is a masterclass in storytelling and suspense, while Sword Art Online is an insult to anyone who's ever enjoyed a good story or well-crafted game. It's hard to believe they're even in the same universe. One is a shining example of how to create a compelling narrative, while the other is a pile of trash that should be avoided at all costs. The fact that some people prefer Sword Art Online is beyond comprehension. They must have been born yesterday and never watched a single decent show in their lives. SAO is the kind of series that only impresses someone who's never seen real storytelling or complex characters before. Now, if you'll excuse me, I need to go watch The Conjuring again. A masterpiece like that deserves to be revisited, unlike certain other things I could mention, which should be relegated to the dustbin of history where they belong. The only praise I have for Sword Art Online is that it's better than the live-action Dragon Ball movie. Anyone who calls Sword Art Online a masterpiece is either ignoring its obvious flaws or has such low standards that they all eat up anything flashy with swords and VR headsets. Sword Art Online is an insult to anyone who actually cares about good writing. Skip Sword Art Online entirely and just watch the Conjuring movies instead. You won't regret it. For those unfamiliar with the Conjuring series, it's a horror franchise based around two paranormal investigators, Ed and Lorraine Warren, played by Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga. The films follow their investigations into demonic possessions, hauntings, and other terrifying phenomena. The latest entry, The Devil Made Me Do It, is a bit different from its predecessors as it's inspired by a real case that the Warrens allegedly worked on.
The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It is a 2021 American supernatural horror movie. It's the 8th installment in the Conjuring universe. In this video, I'll break down The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It, explain the ending as well as what's next for the franchise. Let's get started. The movie begins in July 1981. Demonologists Ed and Lorraine Warren document the exorcism of 8-year-old David Glatzel. David's family, Arnie Johnson and Father Gordon, are in attendance. During the exorcism, Arnie tells the demon to take him instead of David. Ed sees the demon transport itself into Arnie's body, but he suffers a heart attack and is taken to the hospital. Ed wakes up in the hospital and tells Lorraine about the demon entering Arnie's body. Lorraine sends the police to the Glatzel's house, but it's too late. Arnie murders his landlord Bruno Sauls by stabbing him 22 times. Arnie's case becomes the first American murder trial to claim demonic possession as a defense. Meanwhile, the Warrens investigate David's original possession. They discover a satanic curse that's been passed down through a witch's totem. The Warrens then meet former priest Kastner. He previously dealt with the disciples of the Ram cult. Kastner explains that an occultist intentionally left the totem that created the curse which caused David's possession. The Warrens travel to Danvers, Massachusetts to investigate Katie Lincoln's death. She was also killed after being stabbed 22 times. Detectives found a similar totem at Katie's friend Jessica's house. Jessica is currently missing. Lorraine uses her clairvoyant abilities and recreates the murder. She finds out that Jessica had stabbed Katie under the influence of demonic possession, and then she jumped off a cliff to her death. Detectives are able to recover Jessica's body. The Warrens go to the funeral home where Jessica's body is at, and Lorraine touches her hand to find out that the occultist is currently located in a morgue. The connection works both ways though, so the occultist also knows where the Warrens are. Lorraine goes back to Kastner for help. Kastner reveals that he raised a daughter in secret, but she later became an occultist. Kastner explains that in order for the curse to be broken, the altar has to be destroyed. Casper gives Lorraine access to the tunnels where the occultist is, but then he gets killed by her. Ed arrives and finds his way through the tunnels by entering a drain hole. He gets possessed by the demon and tries to kill Lorraine, but she reminds him of the time they first met. Ed is able to regain control, and he destroys the altar, which also kills the occultist and frees Arnie from the possession. Afterwards, Ed places the cup from the altar in his artifact room. Finally, the movie ends with Arnie convicted of manslaughter. He served 5 years in prison, and married Debbie while in prison. They're still married to this day. This movie is based on the actual Devil Made Me Do It case. Similar to what happened in the movie, Arnie Johnson gets convicted of manslaughter after murdering his landlord. It's the first known court case in the United States that used demonic possession as a defense. However, the judge rejected the defense because it would be impossible to prove due to the lack of evidence, and the testimony wouldn't be scientific. Arnie Johnson was sentenced to 10 to 20 years in prison, but he only served about 5 years in total. The real Ed and Lorraine Warren were enlisted to help perform an exorcism on David. There are also several other works of fiction based on this case. For example, there's a TV movie called The Demon Murder Case, and a book called The Devil in Connecticut. So what's next? In an interview with Entertainment Weekly, director Michael Chaves said that Conjuring franchise creator James Wan has a lot of ideas for future movies. I know James has some cases up his sleeve. I think that there's a lot of things they want to explore. I think this film has shown how diverse the Conjuring films can be, and how they are willing to take chances and surprise audiences. I've heard of things they're developing, and I'm very excited to see what comes next. I come at this first and foremost as a fan of the franchise, and so I'm excited to see what happens. In another interview with Dread Central, Michael Chaves also talked about the possibility of a sequel. There are some really interesting case files in the 80s, and without giving any of those away, I think it's also interesting to see the Warrens more as these public figures under scrutiny, skeptics coming at them working with police departments. What The Devil Made Me Do It hopefully does is open up this new chapter for the Warrens. This has a very unique ending to the Conjuring films. I would be excited to see where it could go from here. What could the Warrens get into? What's happened to their careers? I think there are so many possibilities. The Conjuring The Devil Made Me Do It originally had a post-credit scene that was meant to set up the next movie. However, it was removed in order to make the movie feel more finite. Here's what Michael Chaves said during an interview with Enemy.
Yeah, we had one, and I don't know, I'll keep it a mystery as to what it was.
In an interview with Empire, Vera Farmiga and Patrick Wilson have both stated that they could return. Oh my god, I'd love to continue. It's interesting, we have to up the fear in each one. Demonology is already so high-pitched and operatic. We constantly want to push these characters. I would like to, for no other reason than I would want to keep playing opposite Vera. There's definitely some talk of continuing. There are a few different stories that could serve as the inspiration for the next Conjuring movie. The first would be the Snedeker House incident. This occurred in 1986. Ed and Lorraine Warren arrived and proclaimed the Snedeker House, which was a former funeral home, to be infested with demons. The case was also featured in the 1993 book In a Dark Place, the story of a true haunting. A TV film and a 2009 movie were also made, based on the events of this incident. Second, there's the Smurl family haunting. Some Pennsylvania residents named Jack and Jeanette Smurl reported that their home was disturbed by numerous supernatural phenomena, including sounds, smells, and apparitions. The Warrens became involved and claimed that the Smurl house was occupied by 4 spirits and also a demon. A third option would be the Union Cemetery hauntings. According to popular legends, a white lady ghost haunts Union Cemetery. Like other white lady ghost stories, Union Cemetery's ghost is described as wearing a white nightgown or a wedding dress. Ed Warren claimed to have seen the ghost and to have video of it. Ed and Lorraine Warren have also written a book called Graveyard about the cemetery. The Conjuring is actually the second highest grossing horror franchise behind Godzilla, and the movies have made about $2 billion worldwide at the box office, so a sequel seems highly likely, considering that the movies don't cost a lot of money to make, and they generate a lot of profit for the studio. Furthermore, we also know that a sequel to The Nun is in development, as well as a Crooked Man movie. Michael Chaves also mentioned that The Conjuring has some great villains, and they could be building up to an Avengers-style movie where they all cross over.
Yeah, I think that there definitely could be, more of a, a crossover as it gets going.
What did you think of The Conjuring The Devil Made Me Do It? Let me know your opinion in the comments below. I personally thought that it was alright. Not quite as good as the other main Conjuring movies, but a lot better than the other spin-off movies like The Nun. Be sure to check out some of the other Ending Explained videos on this channel. Well, that's it for this video. If you enjoyed it, make sure to subscribe so you never miss a future upload. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.
Now let's talk about what The Devil Made Me Do It does well. First, the performances are top-notch. Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga continue to be a joy to watch as Ed and Lorraine Warren. Their on-screen chemistry is undeniable, and they bring a sense of gravitas to the roles that makes the supernatural elements feel all the more terrifying. The film also benefits from a strong supporting cast. The Devil Made Me Do It is also notable for its exploration of religious themes. The film delves into the power of faith and the importance of seeking help in times of need. This is a welcome addition to the series as it adds a layer of depth that was previously unexplored. However, no film is perfect, and The Devil Made Me Do It does have some flaws. The pacing is a bit uneven at times, and there are a few moments that feel unnecessary. Additionally, while the religious themes are interesting, they're not always handled with the same finesse as the more supernatural elements. Overall, though, The Devil Made Me Do It is a worthy addition to the Conjuring universe. It may not reach the heights of the original Conjuring film, but it's still a well-crafted horror movie with strong performances and a thought-provoking story. If you're a fan of the series or just looking for a good scare, The Devil Made Me Do It is definitely worth a watch. Just go into it knowing that it's not quite the masterpiece that is the first Conjuring film. Thank you for watching.